Good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Now, Dadri lynching remains our top focus. UP government has sent report to centre, even as the Home Minister Rajnath Singh has appealed for communal harmony. We'll get you all the details. Let us begin with the headlines. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi to address the 3 rallies in Bihar for the Grand Alliance. This after RJD Chief Lalu Yadav clarified alliance partners will be campaigning separately. UP government presents report on Dadri lynching incident to centre, indicates that it will take action against BJP MLA and BSP leader for violating prohibitory orders. Bengal State Election Commissioner quits after violence marred civic polls in West Bengal. Governor names interim election chief. Opposition demands cancellation of polls held in certain areas. IMF cuts global growth forecast for a second time in year. India's forecast trimmed for current fiscal, but says growth prospects favourable. US authorities charge former United Nations General Assembly President John Ashley and others for allegedly accepting bribes in return for official actions. Well, beginning with the news from poll-bound Bihar, and Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi will address the 3 rallies in the state today in support of the Mahagathbandhan that also includes the Janata Dal United and the Rashtriya Janata Dal. Now, he will be addressing rallies in Begusarai, Shekhpura and Rohtas districts of Bihar. Elections for the 243-member Bihar Assembly will be held in 5 phases between 12th of October and 5th of November, and the counting of votes will take place on 8th of November. The term of the current Bihar State Assembly expires on 29th of November. The rallies come after RJD Chief Lalu Prasad's clarification that a joint campaigning of the Grand Alliance is unlikely. Meanwhile, RJD Chief Lalu Prasad and BJP President Amit Shah were booked on Tuesday for their remarks against each other during campaigning for Bihar Assembly elections. Now, both had taken pot shots at each other during their rallies. In Begusarai, Amit Shah had referred to Lalu Prasad's conviction in a fodder scam case. Lalu hit back at the BJP president a day later over his alleged role in the Gujarat riots. Now, the FIRs were registered at Patna and Jamui against Lalu for the remark, which Election Commission found violative of representations of People Act and IPC sections.
1 अक्टूबर को एएनआई को ही कुछ बयान दिया गया था जो आपत्तिजनक पाया गया जांच में। उसके बाद एग्जीक्यूटिव मजिस्ट्रेट के रिपोर्ट पर सचिवालय थाने में एफआईआर दर्ज कर ली गई है और उसकी पुलिस जांच कर रही है।
And in other news, Prime Minister Modi has urged German companies to invest in India. The Prime Minister said that his government has worked aggressively to make India an easy place to do business. On the second day of German Chancellor Angela Merkel's India visit, Germany pledged more than €1 billion to India to develop solar projects as the 2 countries pledged to strengthen economic ties.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi made a strong pitch for the Make in India initiative as he called for greater collaboration with Germany. He was speaking at the Indo-German summit organized by NASSCOM. He said that at a time of global slowdown, India represented a bright spot.
Apart from vigorous implementation of measures for ease of doing business, we have fast-track approvals and clearances for industry and infrastructure. Transparent auction and allocations of spectrum and of key natural resources like coal, iron ore and other minerals in the last 15 months have created a level playing field for investors.
Es sind verschiedene Dinge neu geregelt worden, zum Beispiel das Vergabewesen von Kohlelizenzen, die Beteiligungsgrenzen für ausländische Direktinvestitionen in einigen Branchen sind erhöht worden. Wenn diese Liberalisierungsmaßnahmen der Auftakt für weitere Reformvorhaben sind, dann ist das in Deutschland auch ein Startschuss für weitere Vorhaben deutscher Unternehmen in Indien.
Talking about Indo-German business ties, Modi said they remain below their full potential. Chancellor Merkel also agreed with the Prime Minister and said that the 2 sides should work towards developing certain sectors.
der Stadtentwicklung und Energieversorgung. Ob es etwa um Mobilität insgesamt oder auch um Dienstleistungen und Berufsbildung geht, von einer engen Zusammenarbeit können wir gleichermaßen profitieren, egal ob es um Digitalisierung geht oder eben um die zuletzt genannten Bereiche. Daher ist es gut.
There is a tremendous potential in India-Germany economic collaboration. Germany ranks 7th among foreign investor countries in India. About 600 Indo-German joint ventures are already operating in India. However, as of now, our economic partnership remains below our full potential. We are particularly keen to develop the sectors where Germany is strong. We are working hard to create conducive conditions for the same.
The Prime Minister also assured business leaders that India is committed to protecting intellectual property rights of all innovators and entrepreneurs.
I want to assure you that India is committed to protecting intellectual property rights of all innovators and entrepreneurs. We have taken several initiatives for transparency and online processing in IP administration. A comprehensive national IPR policy is being finalized.
Earlier, the two leaders visited two facilities of Bosch in Bengaluru. The visit helped them get an overview of how the auto parts supplier trains young people in India for technical trade. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in the other big story of the day, the International Monetary Fund has cut its global growth forecast for a second time this year on Tuesday, citing weak commodity prices and a slowdown in China, and warned that policies aimed at increasing demand were needed. The fund, whose annual meeting starts in Peru this week, forecasted that the world economy would grow at 3.1% this year and by 3.6% in 2016. Now, both new forecasts are 0.2% point below its July forecast. Now, the downgrades come after central banks in major industrial economies have cut rates to near zero and spent around $7 trillion in quantitative easing programs in the 7 years since the global financial crisis. Now, despite these measures, investment, growth and productivity are stuck below pre-crisis levels, and there is a lack of consumer demand. The fund also trimmed its growth forecast for India to 7.3% for the current fiscal from 7.5% predicted in July, although it maintained that the country's near-term growth prospects still remained favorable. Now let's take a look at what all events are lined up for the day in the day ahead. The Union Cabinet will meet at South Block today. Among the issues to be discussed will be a proposal to give 78-day bonus to railwaymen. The railway employees are likely to be given 78-day wages as productivity-linked bonus for the fiscal 2014-15, the same as in the last 3 years. Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh will inaugurate the National Conference on Anti-Human Trafficking today. The day-long conference is being organized by the Ministry of Home Affairs along with key stakeholders like state nodal officers for anti-human trafficking, officers of anti-human trafficking units set in various districts, and the participants will discuss issues and challenges relating to anti-human trafficking and ways and means to curb the menace more effectively. Aam Aadmi Party MLA Somnath Bharti's plea seeking cancellation of non-bailable warrant against him will be heard by Dwarka Court today. On Tuesday, Additional Sessions Judge Anil Kumar, after hearing the arguments in the bail, reserved the order. Bharti is accused in a domestic violence case filed against him by his wife. Supreme Court will give its verdict on the pleas seeking clarification of its 11th of August interim order that asked the government not to link Aadhaar with the social and dispersal of subsidies welfare schemes. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court reserved its order on the pleas for relaxation, modification and clarification of its interim order by UIDAI, RBI and SEBI. Now, the third round of meeting to break the deadlock between agitating FTII students and Information and Broadcasting Ministry officials, which was supposed to be held in New Delhi on 6th of October, will now be held in Mumbai today. The last meeting held in Mumbai on 1st of October had remained inconclusive, with both the parties failing to resolve the row over the appointment of actor and BJP member Gajendra Chauhan as the chairman of the institute. And in Breakfast Bulletin, we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Stay with us.
Three, two, one, zero.
As science beckons India into the future, Rajya Sabha television partakes the responsibility, bringing technology to the Indian people.
Let's take a look at various important science events in the country,
Monitoring scientific advances as they unravel.
Intergovernmental panel on climate change has proposed a complete ban on fossil fuels.
Welcome to Eureka.
Interviewing the country's greatest minds. Project the power of science to benefit and transform India. Rajya Sabha television, democracy at work.
Get live Rajya Sabha session. News, views, reports and analysis you can trust on social media. Subscribe, follow, like Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Now, latest on the probe into the Dadri lynching case, and the Uttar Pradesh police has claimed that it could take action against BJP MLA Sangeet Som and BSP leader Naseemuddin Siddiqui for violating prohibitory orders. It also filed a case against the Hindu Rakshak Dal for allegedly making inflammatory speeches. Now, this after sending a report to the Union Home Ministry over the incident.
No mention of a motive or the people responsible. The report of the Uttar Pradesh government on the Dadri murder incident incorporates a factual account of the incident as stated in the FIR filed by the local police. The report says unidentified people attacked the murdered victim Muhammad Akhlaq and his son Danish. It further states the trigger was an unconfirmed allegation that they had consumed meat of an animal banned from slaughter. Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh, whose ministry received the report, renewed his call to maintain peace.
मैं समझता हूं कि सामाजिक सांप्रदायिक सौहार्द बनाकर रखना हर जो है भारतीय नागरिक की जिम्मेदारी बनती है और यह सामाजिक और सांप्रदायिक सौहार्द बनाकर रखने के लिए सभी को योगदान करना चाहिए। मैं यही सबसे अपेक्षा करता हूं और यही सबसे मैं अपील करता हूं और मुझे यह बताया गया है कि वहां की स्थिति को सहज और सामान्य बनाने के लिए प्रयत्न किया जा रहा है, लेकिन जो कुछ भी है मैं मानता हूं कि जो घटना घटित हुई है बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है।
अभी 8 दिन हुए हैं और हम लोगों ने 8 अरेस्ट करी हैं जो नामजदों की हैं। अभी इन्वेस्टिगेशन चल रही है और जैसे जैसे एविडेंस मिलेगा चीजें मैच्योर अप होती जाएंगी तो आपसे शेयर। माहौल एकदम ठीक है, सभी स्थितियां सामान्य हैं।
Media accounts say that the two-page report lists names of political personalities who visited Muhammad Akhlaq's family and those who went to Bishara village in Dadri but did not visit the family. Reports say FIRs are likely against some of them who violated prohibitory orders.
दादरी में काफी बवाल हो चुका है। भगवान के लिए नेताओं की आवाजाही वहां कम होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि अधिकांश भड़काव कुछ नेताओं के जाने से होने तय होते हैं।
Earlier, the Home Ministry asked the UP government to provide details of the incident. It has directed other states to take the strictest possible action against those who try to weaken the secular fabric by exploiting religious emotions. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, eminent author and niece of Jawaharlal Nehru, Nayantara Sehgal, has returned her Sahitya Academy Award. She did so to protest the growing intolerance towards the right to dissent in the country. She explained her decision in a statement titled Unmaking of India, in which she has referred to the recent Dadri incident wherein a man was lynched by a mob for allegedly eating beef. She has also cited various other incidents, including killings of writers and rationalists M.M. Kalburgi and Govind Pansare. In her statement says, and I quote her now, in memory of the Indians who have been murdered, in support of all Indians who uphold the right to dissent and of all dissenters who now live in fear and uncertainty, I am returning my Sahitya Academy Award, quote unquote. The 88-year-old writer has also questioned the Prime Minister's silence on the growing number of such incidents. She also accuses the Sahitya Academy, the organization that promotes Indian literature, of being silent despite the seriousness of the issue. The Congress MLA Ajay Rai, along with 50 others, have been arrested in connection with the violence in Varanasi on Monday. Home Minister Rajnath Singh has termed the violence unfortunate and has appealed for calm.
Congress MLA Ajay Rai, along with 50 others, were arrested in connection with violence and arson in Varanasi on Monday. Rai was arrested for his alleged role in the violence and arson during a march by seers and other local leaders against police action on protesters opposing ban on immersion of the Ganesha idols in the Ganga River. The MLA was arrested as soon as he landed at the Lal Bahadur Shastri Airport in Babatpur from New Delhi at around 5:30 p.m. yesterday.
इसमें पहले 48 जनों की गिरफ्तारी हो चुकी थी ऑलरेडी, जिनको रिमांड बना करके जेल भेजा जा चुका है। और इसके अलावा जो आज के दिन में जो है मेन मुख्यतः रमेश उपाध्याय जो है, जो कि अन्याय प्रतिकार यात्रा के प्रबंधक भी जो बन रहे थे, उनकी भी गिरफ्तारी हुई है। साथ में एक और है मिश्रा, उनकी भी गिरफ्तारी हुई है। उसके अलावा जो आज विधायक अजय राय जो है, उनकी भी गिरफ्तारी हुई है। उनको भी अभी जो है जुडिशियल उसके लिए भेजा जा रहा है।
Schools and colleges remained closed on Tuesday and traffic was thin after the violence in the Prime Minister's Lok Sabha constituency. Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh termed the violence very unfortunate. 25 people, including 8 policemen, were injured and property destroyed.
में जो भी घटना हुई है बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है और मैं समझता हूँ कानून और व्यवस्था का प्रश्न जो है राज्य सरकार से जुड़ा हुआ है। और कल मैंने बहुत सारे अधिकारियों से बात की है और मुझे ये बताया गया है कि वहाँ की स्थिति को सहज और सामान्य बनाने के लिए प्रयत्न किया जा रहा है। लेकिन जो कुछ भी है, मैं मानता हूँ कि जो घटना घटित हुई है बहुत ही दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है।
An FIR has been registered against 100 named persons at Dashashwamedh police station. Efforts are on to arrest all of them. The police say patrolling is on in affected areas and that the situation is under control and peaceful. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
News from West Bengal, where uncertainty looms large over the recently held municipal polls in the state, as the State Election Commissioner Sushanta Ranjan Upadhyay on Tuesday tendered his resignation to Governor Keshrinath Tripathi. Now, the resignation comes at a time when the opposition is demanding cancellation of elections to Bidhan Nagar and Asansol Municipal Corporation and certain other areas held on 3rd of October. The counting of votes to these civic bodies is also due. Now, new State Transport Secretary Alapan Bandyopadhyay is tipped to be the next election commissioner of Bengal. On Monday, the Trinamool Congress leadership publicly threatened the State Election Commissioner to announce the dates for counting of votes. A TMC delegation led by state ministers spent hours in Mr. Upadhyay's office, allegedly demanding that the dates be declared. Mr. Upadhyay had given certain hints on Monday that fresh polls in certain booths would be held on 8th of October and counting on 9th of October. The news from across the border, and the talks between the agitating Madheshi community and the Nepal government to end the ongoing crisis remained inconclusive on Tuesday. Now, Nepal is facing acute shortage of essential items, including fuel, over protests against the newly promulgated constitution. The talks are taking place a day after the community clarified that India did not have a role in blocking supplies to Nepal.
It's been over 50 days since the Madhesi community took to the streets, and there seems no end to it after the first round of talks between the two sides failed to resolve matters. Talks are set to resume on Wednesday, when both sides are expected to come prepared with formal proposals to end the deadlock. The community leaders have a list of demands which include new demarcation of boundary for the southern plains and more rights and representation for the Madhesi people.
सीमांकन लगायत निर्वाचन क्षेत्र, नागरिकता और बाकी अधिकार का जो सवाल है, उस सारी बातों पर आज से हमारी बात शुरू होगी। दो चरण में बात होगी। एक चरण में पूर्व शर्त पर बात होगी, वार्ता के लिए पूर्व शर्त, कितना पालन हुआ, कितना पूरा माहौल बनाने के लिए। यदि माहौल नहीं बना तो फिर बात आगे नहीं बढ़ पाएगी।
The community has imposed an economic blockade to oppose the new constitution, which has proposed to split Nepal into 7 provinces. Blockade at the border with India has stalled thousands of trucks carrying essential supplies to Nepal. It has led to acute fuel crisis and shortage of food items, forcing Nepal to move UN last week to seek help. The political parties in Nepal have accused India of deliberately choking supplies to back the Indian origin Madhesi community. However, India rejected the charges and has also got the backing from the community.
ये भारत का नाकेबंदी नहीं है, ये संयुक्त लोकतांत्रिक मधेसी मोर्चा के तहत आम तराई वासियों का, आम यहाँ के आदिवासियों का, दलितों का, थारुओं का ये आंदोलन है। और ये आंदोलन भारतीय आंदोलन नहीं है, ये आंदोलन मधेसियों का आंदोलन है जो अधिकार से वंचित है और विभेद में पड़े हुए नागरिकों का ये आंदोलन है।
Meanwhile, India wants an amendment to the constitution to address the demands of the Madhesis within this week before there is a change of guard in Nepal's leadership. Prime Minister Sushil Koirala has stepped down, paving way for the selection of his successor as per the newly framed constitution. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in the big international story of the day, well, US authorities have charged a former United Nations General Assembly president and others with years-long corruption and bribery scheme. Now, ex-UNGA President John Ashe allegedly accepted bribes from a Chinese billionaire in return for official actions. Now, there are 5 others who have been accused of facilitating the scheme. US authorities say that more arrests are likely in the case.
It comes as a shock to the world governing body. A former president of the United Nations General Assembly charged in a corruption investigation. US authorities have accused John Ashe of colluding to help a Chinese real estate mogul, Niglap Seng, gain government contracts. Ashe has been charged with accepting bribes to the tune of $1.3 million. He was taken in custody on Tuesday. The complaint reads the scheme expands to Deputy UN Ambassador from the Dominican Republic, Francis Lorenzo, and the CEO and Finance Director of an unnamed New York-based nonprofit.
The complaint alleges that 4 defendants representing business interests in China paid at least $1.3 million in bribes to a man who was then the President of the United Nations General Assembly and the permanent representative to the UN from Antigua. His name is John Ashe. In return for those bribes, we allege, Ashe used his official position at the UN to advance the briber's Chinese business interests.
The scheme unfolded between 2011 and 2014, including Ashe's tenure as General Assembly head. New York prosecutors say John Ashe converted the UN into a platform for profit. Ashe allegedly used his position to introduce a UN document supporting a multi-billion-dollar UN-sponsored conference center that Seng hoped to build as his legacy in Macau. They say Ashe also crafted meetings with government officials in Antigua and Kenya to help the real estate developers. He is said to have evaded tax on the bribe money.
United in greed, the defendants allegedly formed a corrupt alliance of business and government, converting the UN into a platform for profit. I think people know by now that we will continue to do everything we can to root out public corruption, whether we find it in the City Council, in Albany, or, as here, in the United Nations.
But the complaint only charges Ashe with tax offences, possibly because he may have diplomatic immunity for any conduct taken in his official capacity. Members of the governing body are deeply troubled by the allegations.
We've obviously just learned of these very serious allegations this morning. Of course, the Secretary General was shocked and deeply troubled to learn this morning of the allegations against John Ashe, the former President of the General Assembly, which go to the heart of the integrity of the United Nations. Press obviously if we're contacted by the relevant U.S. authorities, we will cooperate with them.
I'm shocked about it, and I think the United Nations and its representatives should be held to the highest standards of transparency and ethics.
Businessman Singh and his assistant Jeff Yin both were arrested last month on separate charges. Prosecutors say more arrests can be expected in days to come. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, NATO has cast doubts over Moscow's violation of Turkish airspace over the weekend. Now, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said Russia had not provided any real explanation of the violation, which lasted for a long time. He warned that any new violation of the Turkish airspace could have serious consequences. Now, Turkey's army says an unidentified fighter jet logged its radar onto 8 of its jets on Monday, echoing the incident on Sunday. Analysts say that many have been Syrian jets, suggesting a new assertiveness on Assad's part. Russia maintains the Saturday's incursion was brief and due to bad weather. It is examining claims of another violation. The Russian Defense Ministry says it flew 20 sorties on Tuesday, striking 12 Islamic State targets.
I will not speculate on the motives. I will just reiterate or restate that this is a serious violation of Turkish airspace. It should not happen again. Anyway, it's unacceptable to violate the airspace of another country. And this is exactly what we were afraid of, that incidents, accidents may create dangerous situations.
Мы будем рады приветствовать в Москве представителей Министерства обороны Турции, с которым мы могли бы обсудить все технические аспекты, для того, чтобы, по крайней мере, избежать тех недоразумений, которые могут возникнуть в результате выполнения нашими вооруженными силами задач, поставленных Верховным Главнокомандующим в Сирии.
And a look at what else is making news from across the world in World Wrap. Volkswagen expects to start a recall of cars affected by its emissions scandal in January. The car giant's new chief executive, Matthias Müller, asserted that all affected cars will be fixed by the end of 2016. He added only a few employees were involved in the scandal and the firm would do everything to keep jobs secure in the future. Further investment in the plant, technology and vehicles would also be put under scrutiny. The car giant had admitted that its emissions test cheating software was present in 11 million diesel vehicles. Yemen's Houthi rebels have agreed to a UN peace plan to end the conflict, giving a confirmation in writing to the UN Secretary General. Houthi representatives have pledged to adhere to a 7-point peace plan brokered by the UN during talks in Oman. The plan includes a ceasefire, the removal of armed militias from the cities, and the return of the government to the capital, Sana'a. The Houthi representatives call the peace plan an important and fundamental step towards the resumption of the political process. After having surrendered to the authorities, Burkina Faso coup leader General Gilbert Diendéré is expected to face trial before a military tribunal. The leader has been charged with 11 crimes, including threatening state security, murder, collusion with foreign forces, voluntary assault and willful destruction of property. Some of his forces had refused an order to disarm, forcing the army to attack their base in the city. Interim President Michel Kafando was reinstated 2 weeks ago after intervention from the army and West African leaders. Burkina Faso is due to hold general and presidential elections on Sunday. 5 people have been arrested in dawn raids in Western Sydney in connection with the shooting of a police worker last week. More than 200 officers swooped on several properties. The police arrested males aged between 16 and 24. Police employee Curtis Cheng was killed in Parramatta on Friday in what police say was a terror-linked attack. Now, Cheng's attacker, a schoolboy named Farhad Jabbar, was shot dead at the scene. Now let's get you all the sporting action in Sports Beat. Indian boxers made a good start at the World Championships as Vikas Krishan and Shiva Thapa notched up comprehensive victories to enter the pre-quarters on Tuesday. However, it was the curtains for Manoj Kumar in as he was stunned 1-2 by Moroccan Ata Kahni in the first round. The World Championships is the first qualifying tournament for next year's Rio Olympic Games. India lost the opening match of the 4-match bilateral test series 0-2 to New Zealand in Nelson. Despite winning both the practice games against New Zealand A, the Sardar Singh-led side tamely went down to the horse. The second match will be played on Wednesday. Now, Spain's prosecutors have dropped tax charges against Argentina and Barcelona football star Lionel Messi, but will pursue a case against his father. Now, both Messi and his father were accused of defrauding Spanish authorities of more than $5 million. The prosecutor said that Lionel Messi should not have to face the charges as his father was in charge of his finances. Tennis top seed Novak Djokovic improved his perfect record in Beijing to 25-0 by beating Italian Simone Bolelli 6-1, 6-1 in China Open. The Serb has been unbeaten in Beijing since 2009 and has won 5 titles here. 14 times Grand Slam champion Rafael Nadal had to fight hard to beat China's Wu Di 6-4, 6-4 in his opening match. Well, that's all in this edition of Breakfast News, but do keep watching Rajya Sabha TV. Thanks for your time.